Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. You want to fire, you're going to get it. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring Mark on. Before we do, GoCo. Good sponsor for us. And I've been answering questions. I'm not a financial advisor. I have done well with precious metals. I have a whole bunch of silver coins that I'm going to give away here at some point, but have nothing to do with GoCo, just because I want to show you that I have a bunch of these silver coins. But yeah, go to untamedgold.com. You will not be my thoughts on where gold and silver are going and why this is going to be a good investment for you are well known. But go and just get the packet. All I want you to do is get the packet. You can go to untamedgold.com. You can go in, put your information in. It's a free packet. Go get the free packet. Start there, right? They're going to send it to you. And then to be a part of this program, you're going to get some free incentives as well, some added incentives. So untamedgold.com, call 844-960-GOLD. Let's go over there. All right. Mark, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Mark, on Saturday morning, I put out a report. And I was going to take the time and read the whole thing on here. I still might. But you read the entire report, did you not?
I did.
And I sent it to you in its raw form before I sent it to anybody else. I sent it to you and a bunch of other people. And I wanted to make sure it was peer reviewed. So I wanted to make sure the information I had was right, that it aligned with what was really happening, that I could. And so I did that. And the feedback I got was thumbs up, Joe. Everything in there is not only defensible, it's absolutely true. And I was like, okay.
Okay.
But I did it without emotion. I tried to take out as much emotion as possible and just get to factual basis. That's very difficult.
It is. Yeah.
Because for 5 years, it's been a fight. And so I put go ahead. Tell me what you think of I'm going to show everybody your tweeted response, but initial thoughts.
Well, there's a whole lot more going on than the citizens understand. And that's what really frustrates me. A lot of people have believed the real manufactured lie, and half the country is at each other's throats, all because of a bunch of lies perpetrated by a small group of people. And one of these people is Eric Coomer, at the center of a lot of this. And I cannot stand liars. I freaking hate them. And there's been so many people that have been hurt, horribly hurt, relationships destroyed, lives destroyed, futures destroyed, just because of some evil people that couldn't care less about what's right, what's honest, or about their fellow man, but only are there to take advantage and cause harm to people. These are the demons that are among us, sadly. And this Coomer is one of them. And I am very happy to be in a position where I can help you and others expose the lies of all these people, because the American citizens deserve a whole lot better than this. The world deserves better than this. And we can't allow ourselves to be taken advantage of by this small group of people. I'm not saying they're stupid. They're actually incredibly intelligent, but very evil and intelligent. And we have a system here that they have set up, unbeknownst to most American citizens, most people in the world, that allows them to covertly manipulate this system that we use to measure our will. And so we are living in a society, we're living in a world that is reflective of our will not being accurately measured in our election. So we truly don't have freedom. We have a facade of freedom, and it's all perpetrated by people such as Eric Coomer, who have no problem lying straight to our face and the face of other law enforcement as well. So
Yeah, but
I'm ready to take them all down.
It went further than that. See, Eric Coomer poked the bear. He poked me. And he continues to poke me with his lying little lawyers. And so I'm in the process now of filing criminal complaints. That's my next step is, what they're doing to me personally is it's a 5-year crime spree, right? That's what they've done to me. They came after my family. They caused all of this by creating this charade of I didn't do anything wrong. But I want to take you back in time on this, and let's put up the original, if we can, put up the original tweet that I put out. Everybody understands what I'm talking about, X thing. Let's put it up next to us, if you would. Oh, well, the Substack doesn't really, I put it everywhere else. So let me read it to you. And by the way, I figured something out too. I figured out who's on our side and who's not on our side. I sent it to about 200 influencers. A lot of them called me back and said, holy crap. Let me post it. So they put it on their socials. They talked about it on their podcast. They did a bunch of stuff. Then there were others, Mark. What'd they do? Walked right past it.
Yep.
Because Con Inc., now I know a couple of them that are lawyers. And so I got to be careful because they're working on it. So I wanted to make sure they had the report. They couldn't post it because they have to make sure that they stay completely above water on it. But they made comments to me in private of here's what I got out of it. And that is awesome. Like that was ridiculously well written. My report number 2 should lead to indictments. And my report 2 should lead to some indictments. I'm done. You want to see a guy that's done? I'm done. I'm done.
Gloves are off.
Gloves are all the way off.
Yep.
But this is a crime spree. And so what I wanted to do when I did this is I wanted you to know, I wanted people to be able to see for Eric Coomer, for who Eric Coomer is. And if you killed a bunch of people in 500 different places, and every single time, let's say they didn't know it was you, but you were the only one that flew in and flew out in all 500 bodies, Mark flew in, body drop, and they were all stabbed the same way. I'm sorry, bro, you're my guy. So the same formula we used, that's it. The same formula that you would use for a forensic audit, if you were looking at the IRS for someone that was stealing or cheating on their taxes, same thing you would use in a case of embezzlement, the same mathematical theories that you would use in order to find predictively whether or not organized crime was operating in certain areas. The same thing you would use in order to get to a place where you have an ironclad, this is the guy that committed the crime. That's what we did in this report. Okay? Let's go back to 2004, shall we?
Let's do it.
It was December 13th, 2004, and a guy named Clinton Curtis. He testified to Congress. And he was told to build a system that could cheat in elections without getting caught, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he built it. And the person that asked him to build it was a congressman in Florida, right? Feely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was December of 2024. March of 2025, Smartmatic buys Sequoia voting systems. Right?
Right around there, I believe.
April 2005, fresh off of heroin boy Coomer He gets a cold call out of nowhere. Now, keep in mind, he was building websites. He was building websites, Mark. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, building websites for businesses. He's not building any architecture. He's not doing anything. And they pick up the phone. They're like, hello? Yeah, this is Sequoia Voting Systems. We want you to come do some elections for us. We want to make you our chief architect. 17 states and the District of Columbia they operated in. Oh, look at those people. I see those people behind you. Oh, look at that guy.
Oh, let's see if I can keep myself here. There we go. Yeah. Have you seen this site?
No, what is this?
Stolen Elections Facts, FACTS.com. It's your full timeline of the whole thing, all the companies involved, all the individuals involved.
Stolen
Elections.
Elections.com.
Stolen election facts. So I'm gonna put it here so you can get it on the
get it up on screen with us, William. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Stolen election facts.
Elections facts.
Stolen elections facts.
You got it. 2 plurals.
2 plurals.
I think you'll appreciate the work done here.
Yeah, so this goes through, should concern all Americans who have lost control. Okay, so you put this in perspective. What page were you on, though? What page is it behind you?
Go to individuals at the top.
Yeah.
Then down to Dominion Voting Systems.
Okay.
Click on that, and that's the page it was on.
All right, Mark. Yeah, there you go. Let's go up a little bit. So you have John Poulos, founding president, CEO of Dominion Voting Systems. Dominion is now in 150 municipalities, and we used a couple of province-wide elections, including most polling stations in Ontario's 2010 election. Dominion also had technology in 1,000 United States counties across 35 states. Poulos has grown the company through direct support to elections in Mongolia and the Philippines. That's not the only one, so. Jack Blaine. Now, this guy was the original guy who was the president and CEO of Sequoia. He had multiple positions, and he stated that for all practical purposes, the only company other than Sequoia with had any significant involvement was Smartmatic. Maintained business relationships with its former owner. Now, you remember CIFIS? They had a 2007 hearing and said, you must sell because of a 2006 election. So keep going up, though. I want to get to the other. There's Eric Coomer. You don't have anything written about him. What's going on?
Well, I'll say this isn't my work, but I'm sure we'll make sure that it is fortified with the proper information.
Okay. All right. David Moreno, know all about that guy. Okay, so here's some stuff that he's an engineer integrator, Smartmatic's SaaS solution, and the Sequoia product line. Lender integrator for Dominion Voting Systems, being responsible for the warehouse production and testing of the products and solutions that are deployed under the election. Wow.
Moreno is a very interesting fella. I'd like to know a lot more about that.
I have some stuff that I can show you. Matter of fact, it's going to be report 3, because we're going to be then uncovering some things that you guys should know about, especially had to do with what's happening in Venezuela. Now, what's interesting is that there's currently an arrest warrant out with a $50 million reward for a stolen election, right?
Mm-hmm.
What system substructure do they use there?
Smartmatic?
Same one for Smartmatic. Same, identical. Same substructure. Okay. So here's where it breaks down, though. Go ahead and put on there if you can, and then I just want to know your thoughts on this. If you could put up on the screen the Substack. Eric Coomer, from drug-addicted Satanist skinhead to the heart of election controversy. Now, I started this out by saying, are you ready for this? I'm going to do a lot of this. I've had enough of the bullshit. The part you are not going to get in this report, of the couple dozen Venezuelans from the 2006 Genesis, 3 became whistleblowers in 2020. 1 was murdered in 2022. That will be a story all in itself. So much for perfect villain. No, I'm pretty sure he is the villain. Is a villain.
Okay.
So we went through this, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I may actually do a show where I do read the whole thing so you can hear all of it. But in April of 2005, fresh off of his being a drug addict, heroin addict, dry heaving on the ground by his own words, right? They asked him to become Sequoia a month after they bought Sequoia from Smartmatic. Now, he did websites. That's what he did. He did websites. He did not. There was no grandiose thing that Eric Coomer was doing. He was not like deep in the middle of building infrastructure and doing great things. He was a drug addict that was headed to prison for a long time. Am I wrong?
But with a physics degree.
With a nuclear engineering degree, not a physics degree.
Nuclear engineering. Boy, it's pretty incredible. Not many people have a nuclear engineering degree.
So, no. And then he wrote a thesis. Do you guys have the thesis back there? Oh, I'll send it to you right now. So what I did, Mark, is over the last 5 months, people have talked about the fact that you have PID controllers inside of it, that it had to be a complex algo, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you saw the work for Ed Solomon. He did some really solid work related to the cast vote records in over 30 counties.
Brilliant.
Right?
Brilliant. And there's a lot more coming too. Basically, it shows with the county results. These are the results directly from the counties. If you know how to look at them, you can so easily see that the results that they provide are absolutely synthetic fabrications. There is no way that these could be organic. They're very tightly controlled synthetic fabrications. And I doubt most of the counties even know this, because if they knew it, they wouldn't be releasing the data. Or if they do know it, they didn't think anyone's smart enough to be able to see this. But the work that Ed's doing is absolutely brilliant. And I'll tell you what, if there's any mathematicians out there, I don't care what side of the aisle you are on, just take a look at the data. The data speaks for itself. Wait till you see it. You could be the hardest core leftist in the world, but if you are an honest person and you understand some basic math, basic math, your eyes will be completely shot straight open when you see this yourself.
All right, so let's talk about that for a minute, shall we? Why this can't get this to work? Ugh.
I know a tech guy.
You do?
I do.
I'm trying to just get this one document to allow me to drop it in there. All right. So what I did is I took and I worked with some other non-Ed types, and I asked Ed to send me some data, and he sent me some data, and I walked through it with him, and then I presented that data. And I wanted to make sure that it would pass muster. So then I sent it to other people and said, okay, I need you to peer review this. Does it work? And they're like, yeah, it does. But how do you know that the data is real? And I was like, okay, here's where the file came direct. Chain of custody came right off the site. Yep. By the way, this is where they changed it in Arapahoe County. And they all started changing it in other counties, but this was prior to that. And here's where we got the data. So they all said the same thing. Joe, if that's true, and I was like, I need you to talk me through the complex algorithm that would have to be created. And this is 5 months ago, and I had this, Eureka event.
Yep.
And I go, why would they hire a drug addict? And I know his dad worked for the Pentagon. I know his brother worked for General Dynamic, was involved in the war machine, that there's deep connections in the in this environment. So I'm like, okay, well, that would influence it. But here's you have a guy that could not pass a background check. Could he?
Not a chance. Not a chance. But luckily, Dominion probably doesn't do background checks.
Not
or they
Dominion,
probably
Sequoia.
wouldn't
This
have
is Sequoia.
even Sequoia. Even Sequoia. And we both know who worked with Eric back in the day at Sequoia too. Happens to be a neighbor of mine.
Speak.
You know Chris.
Mm-hmm. York.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He worked with Coomer back in the day, and saw a lot of this stuff. Didn't quite connect all the dots, but
Until
certainly
later.
did a little bit later. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's been a huge help as well. He was one of the first people to come forward to say, this is how they did it. They eliminated log files. That was before, by the way, he was on with me before we ever had an audit and found out that this was true.
It was way early on.
See, this is the part where I say it's going to lead to indictments because the timelines are tight. Like I'm tight on my timelines, right? And Coomer went to work for Sequoia. What was his job title?
Well, lately,
Chief
right,
Architect.
VP, Chief Architect back in the day.
Yeah.
I think that was Hyder Garcia's job title, possibly at Smartmatic.
Okay.
Hyder's kind of the Smartmatic version of Eric Coomer.
Mm-hmm. And where's
Except
Hyder now?
Hyder actually goes out. They keep putting him in all these different election departments all over the country.
Right.
And now, I don't know if
go ahead,
you hear what happened to him now?
Yeah, he left and went to go work for ES&S or something.
Hart. So actually,
Hart
he's in.
Intercivic.
Right. So he's in under investigation for election fraud. Then he's in another country altogether. He's asked not to leave. In fact, about 10 other people were under investigation. A bunch of people from Smartmatic and a few from Commission on Elections. And all of a sudden,
Dominion?
Hyder disappears, ends up in Placer County, California, running the elections there. And then Tarrant County, Texas. And then Tarrant County turns blue for the first time since 1964. And then he leaves there when someone starts looking into him a little bit more, and then ends up at the federal EAC. I mean, someone at our Federal Election Assistance Commission actually hired Hyder Garcia, who's under investigation for election fraud in another country, somehow misses that background check and gets hired at the federal EAC as a consultant. And then to Dallas County, Texas, botches that 24 election, and then just quits, I think, a couple days ago. And wouldn't you know, Hart Intercivic hires him to replace Peter Lichtenheld, who was the vice president of customer success that a few years ago, when I was in Kerr County with him, testified that every system's hackable, and especially if you have access, knowledge, and time. And look who they hire. I mean, you just can't make any of this stuff up. It's so incestuous, insidious, and I cannot wait to put it all together, connect the dots for the American people. And I do feel there are going to be a massive amount of indictments.
Why did it take me putting it by 5? I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in this room. I'm a system architect. So, I mean, I guess it would make sense that I architected the timeline and looked everything up and spent time making sure that it all added up. And bro, I reached out to people in governments that Eric Coomer was there. Like I've reached out to, I want to talk to the president of one of these countries, ex-president of one of these countries. And there are people that are willing to speak with me. And they're like, oh my gosh, you need to know about this guy. And I'm like, okay, tell me more.
It slipped under the radar. So many, if people had just communicated and shared that information, absolutely, for 16 years. So it's complex. So most people don't even understand this domain because they don't understand it. They're reticent to share anything about it because they're too afraid that they might be wrong about something. So because it's a domain that most people don't understand, they don't talk about it. And it's hard for them to put it together. Then you've got people that are just too scared to say anything, and people that are in on it. People that are benefiting from this, I'm sure, are told to keep quiet. So anytime someone does squeak a little bit out, I'm sure they're quieted up pretty quickly by those that don't want the public to understand what's going on. But yeah, these people have raped not only the American citizens after all these years, but they're raping citizens in all these other countries as well with these electronic voting systems and these small number of companies that are doing it. And I don't really care about how vulnerable their systems are. I know how vulnerable they are. I don't really care that they're, how they're being manipulated. Really, it's much simpler to me. The citizens are not in charge of their own elections. Full stop. I don't have to talk about vulnerabilities. All I know is the citizens don't have control of their own elections, and the citizens use the elections to control who they represent or who represents them and what laws they have to follow. And so if the citizens don't have control over the very system of measurement, we're done. We're done with that discussion. That's why we have no choice. We just need to rip all these systems out and go back to something that the citizens have full control of. Again, full visibility, full control, full verifiability. But I'd love to put the whole mystery together and hold everyone accountable too that did this, perpetrated this upon the American people and the people of this world. And nothing would make me happier than to see them held fully accountable for everything that they did to all of us. And that's why I'm proud to do it.
All right. So I need to, and what you're saying is absolutely true. Let me see if I can find the other one real quick. Oh, that's the exponential decay. That's where it came out. So, so I ran it through all these tests, Mark. So with people, I want to say mathematical people. And then I came back and I said, okay, what's the probability? What would it look like? And so I started using some of the systems that we have on the AI side that we built in with Athena and said, because I want to use my own system first for a lot of reasons. And then I wanted to be able to have a big enough number of counties and states and a control. So there are some cities that have no fraud.
There are. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And so I had to find 4 counties that had no fraud. Right. In different states that use the same substructure. So it had to be ES&S, had to be Smartmatic, or had to be Dominion. And that they were good. Like you get the cast for record, you get the information, you put it in the system, and it says, yeah, this is the way people are supposed to vote. Right? Now, fast forward. Actually, that's not true. So these aren't people. They wasn't just Dominion. I used like Clear Ballot was one. I just needed to make sure that the election was real. Right.
Yeah.
And that it didn't follow any, it looked real. It acted real. I guess I should say, could it have been fake? Yeah. But this is what the law of large numbers and what happens over time with a group of people.
When people look at the data of the election, you see the trend of votes over time.
Yeah.
It either looks natural and organic in nature, or it looks controlled. And if there are patterns in the data, that's how you can determine that the thing is controlled. It's the patterns, because when normal people vote, those patterns really don't exist. Those patterns look very normal. It's random votes coming from different areas. You'll see a little bit of consistency when there are other variables that are linked with each other, but you won't see really tightly controlled patterns. And that's when I've looked and seen this data and seen the corruption in these different counties that have corruption. It's very apparent because they didn't do a real clean job. They didn't try to make the manipulation of the data look organic. There are inorganic parts of it that you see very unnatural patterns in the data, and that's the telltale sign. But they're going to get better. And these new systems, all these new upgrades that they forced everyone to employ, and they sold these 10-year contracts to these commissioners that didn't know any different. They told them, well, we save a lot of money if you sign a 10-year contract for our software, and we got to do this update right now. I'll bet all these new variants of these voting system images are probably going to be even better. They probably have a more natural looking manipulation built into them, if they do have something built in. But how would we know? Because none of us are allowed to actually see under the hood and see what the source code is.
Okay, so I needed to be inside of this document. I needed to be able to take what you're talking about, and I needed to have a control. And then I needed to be able to run it against and say, is this natural? Number one. And if it's not natural, does it follow the same? I took Eric Coomer's doctorate dissertation, right? His thesis. I plugged it in. I plugged in all the cast vote records one by one, then collectively in 6 counties in 4 states. Okay.
Yeah.
To show that the system structure, if you take it and you turn it sideways, was the same, right? So you could see the way that the system was operating. By the way, I also found an anomaly within CITL and how information be carried up to CITL and whether or not that handoff happened. So I found some other, that'll be like, I think, report number 4, which would be, how does CITL play a part in this, and what do they know?
Big part.
Yeah, so I think they do know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So I put that together, and the R² value was 0.995, 0.998, 0.997, 0.999, 0.995.
Explain to people what the R² value is.
So let me break this down to you in such a way that you understand it's determining whether or not something is sorry.
It's a correlation.
Here's my wife.
Yeah.
It's the true north of information. So if the information, again, we can get into the science.
So if it was a 1,
yeah.
If it was a 1, it'd be dead on.
Dead on.
Completely dead on. So basically, you're comparing data with what data would look like if manipulated.
So here's,
and the closer it is to that, is closer to 1.
So here's how we use it when we aggregate data at my company. We use it to say, all right, we spent money on these 4 platforms. We have what's called online and offline attribution. So you'd say, all right, I'm going to spend $10,000 on Fox News, right? And you do time correlation within 15, 30, and 45-minute increments, which is why this R² value, this determining factor, tells me, okay, I spent $10,000 with them, but I also spent $5,000 over there with, say, Google, and I spent $3,500 over here. And let's say we got 100 customers to say, yes, we want to buy it, right? So you'll use this to tell us how effective the campaigns were in each one of those environments based on a number of variables that come through the system. And then it tells us, and for a campaign, you want it to be above 0.7, right? Above 0.7 is a pretty good number. 0.71, I think, is the number we use. And so you'll continue those campaigns. As it starts to erode, then you can literally throw that out, and it says, okay, we're not going to, it doesn't have a correlated return. Something else will rise. Does that make sense? I mean, did I explain that right in such a way that you think people would understand it?
I think people will get it. Yeah.
Okay. So when you get to 1 or 0.99, that means that it not only correlates, it's the same. In other words, here's the question that I asked is, does the theories that Eric Coomer have in his thesis, does it align with the algorithms that are used and the math used in the elections? And once the people said, holy shit, these are different. I mean, one's dealing with plasma decay and things like that. The other one's dealing with votes.
Mm-hmm.
But the theory of how you get to the math is the same. Okay? The math is the same. So why would they recruit a drug-addicted skinhead who can't keep himself out of jail and can't stop doing drugs, and by the way, still has the same problem today because he ran into a building, ran away from it, died, lied to the cops, went into a bar, drank a couple shots.
Controllable.
Yeah.
Controllable, no scruples, doesn't care. And so when they profile,
that's the guy you want.
He's perfect. That's the guy you want. Absolutely.
CIA. It's funny though, in November, early December 2020, you know who showed up first here to visit with me?
Nope.
Chuck Sam Faddis, CIA stooge. That guy, the one that, kind of walked around and talked to other people about how the election was stolen. And Turns out he was in the middle of it too. So
A lot of people have been.
Here's a guy, chief architect, and you go, Joe, that's that's smoke, but it's not the fire. You don't have any proof. Bullshit. This is the same system they use to catch people, Al Capone like figures. They use to catch people that are stealing from the government. This is the system they use. This is how they come to the conclusion that there's a problem. Okay? But that's not where it ends. That was 2005. He went to work for him as chief architect. 2006 was the first election in a municipal election in 2006 in Chicago. Guess who they flew up from Venezuela?
Who?
A couple dozen Venezuelans to be the support for the election. Couldn't have anybody in the United States. It had to be Venezuelan.
You know, an interesting thing that Chris told me about when he was at Sequoia is that they frequently flew up a group of Venezuelans to do the programming to Denver. They flew them up to the Denver building. They didn't speak English. They just flew up there. They did a bunch of work for quite a while, weeks or something, and they were gone. Isn't that weird that for a company that handles elections in the United States of America that was recently deemed part of our critical infrastructure, national critical infrastructure, that this company would think it's perfectly okay to fly Venezuelans into Denver, Colorado to program the voting system that the United States of American citizens depend on. And now in a company that handles about 41 or 40-ish% of the votes across our entire country in very strategic states and counties. Mm-hmm. It's odd, isn't it?
Very odd. That 2006 election was highly contested. Glitches. They always say glitches. Oh, it's just glitches.
Isolated human error.
Isolated human error glitches. Isolated human error glitches. Yeah. The job is to count votes. 2006, 2007, they handed over to managers. Blaine was one of the managers. It then is sold in 2010, 2008, by the way. That was when Blaine came in. Guess who's a part of it all the way through this? Every glitch, every problem. By the way, there's a ton of other elections in those 17 states.
I bet Eric Coomer.
100%. Fast forward to 2010. Let's go to Mongolia. This is where it starts to really heat up. The person responsible for going through all the election systems in Mongolia is who?
Eric Coomer. Is it Eric Coomer?
Guess what happened when the election in Mongolia?
I'll bet it did go well.
It went horribly.
What a coincidence. Was there a glitch?
There was a massive glitch, but then Smartmatic sued Sequoia, right? I'm sorry, sued Dominion because they were collecting information, central information in Mongolia to the election.
That seems odd. Kind of like how Dominion has offices in Serbia.
Well,
that during our elections and their support actually for our clerks across the United States of America
we're in Serbia.
Is actually over voice over IP phones out of Serbia. And the sad thing is our clerks have no idea that when they call in for support in Dominion, they might be talking to someone in Serbia supporting them during a United States election. It's pretty crazy.
Bro, what's even crazier is that the number of organizations that were tied back to Dominion on both sides and Sequoia and Premier, that they basically would sell off the IP, merge into something else, and then quickly bankrupt that organization. Okay? So Sequoia Voting Systems was bankrupted in 2014 after selling. Now Smartmatic got to keep the IP, intellectual property. They'd shared it. So that's the first deviation. Now Smartmatic has it, and Dominion and Sequoia has it. Sequoia sells to Dominion. Now Dominion has it. I want to point out that $120 million was given by the Venezuelan government, by Hugo Chavez, that funded their ability to buy Sequoia, a U.S.-based election system in the United States. Now, Mongolia was an unmitigated mess that led to a lawsuit with Smartmatic and Dominion. They're at each other's throats. More for show than anything else. Then what happened in 2012, 2013? elections in the Philippines. What happened during those elections?
We got a
Unmitigated
great
disaster.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, who was there?
Was it Eric Coomer?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Hmm.
2014. This is the only unverifiable report that I have. You had the Maidan coup in a country called Ukraine. The substructure of that election system shared in part what?
Let's see. I'm going to cruise through here on the master timeline
Yeah.
as well. While you're doing this, I thought this could be cool, except my head just disappeared. Let me see. I'll fix that in a second here. Let's, there we go.
Yeah.
I'll make some adjustments here, but let me get up to 2012 on the master here, because I think you'll really appreciate going through and lining up what you've got with this. Okay, here we go. What month now in 12?
Well, we're up to 14 in the Maidan coup in Ukraine.
14. Okay, so here we go. Got it. Jack Blaine's.
Jack Blaine files for Sequoia Voting Systems bankruptcy. Yeah. And he writes an affidavit. By the way, I have that affidavit. That's gonna be one of my reports as well. Brennan, what does it say?
Brennan Center raises concerns of voting machine vulnerabilities. September.
Yep.
Then Smartmatic CEO announces SGO group with Mark Malik Brown as the chairman.
We need to fill in the part about what happened with Ukraine in the Maidan coup and the stealing of an election in there. Right in the middle.
Well, we'll get this fortified. Yeah.
Bro, it is so connected to
all
information. Of it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Look, if you read that report that I wrote, by the way, I'm still in a lawsuit with Eric Coomer right now. I mean, he's still keeping the facade up. But if you go through this,
I mean, they're going to go down. I mean, and of course he's going to keep it up. He's going to do everything he can, because he's going to be cooked here real soon. They got everything to lose. You can't just give in.
Yeah. So this is the unverified report on 3/13/2025. That's the last part of me not getting it verified. I'm still in the middle of someone that was there, and I just want pictures. So what I take pictures and or corroborating evidence that would put him there on the ground. I have some of it, but not enough that I feel confident yet. So 15 to 18 bribery in the Philippines, indictments in 2024. This is all during Coomer's work at Dominion. Dominion Serbia data center built by roaming networks. I have all the documentation related to that. That was their data center. It was built in connection with Huawei, which is the bank in China. There was a big customer of roaming networks.
There it is right there. Dominion brings talent from Belgrade, Serbia, right there.
Yeah. Smartmatic proceed in Philippines for changing source code. Okay, yep. So here's an interesting part about this entire thing. Since 2009, how many times do you think that they had reviewed the source code for Dominion voting systems? That somebody had gotten into the source code?
Who's they?
Anyway,
they who?
I mean, testing it.
Anyone?
Yeah.
I doubt our testing labs are probably not getting the source code.
Yeah,
I highly doubt it.
Since 2009 that they actually reviewed the source code?
0.
0 times.
Yeah.
Validated 0 times. So up till 2020, they had never. They would review and they would check and the functions, but they would not have access to the source code.
Yeah.
Now that was and that's not Clay Parikh. Although I did send some out to him, he didn't answer me. That's other people.
No, the people at the testing labs, all their job is just to test the software to see if it works. And when they actually examine the source code, from everything I could find, the only thing that they've done, and I don't know how many times they did this, maybe only once, but they put it through a source code syntax checker, and it looks for all, bad syntax and common programming errors. But no one is evaluating the logic in the source code. And so everyone knows what that means. The logic of the source code is what the code actually does, what the program does step by step. I have never seen any evidence that anyone other than the voting system vendors has actually evaluated every single line of that source code to see what the program actually does. And that is a massive problem because most people think, oh, well, of course they test it. Of course someone looks at it. Great. If they do, prove it to me. Let me see some evidence that someone's actually done that, because Dominion source code alone, the last count I saw, was 2.1 million lines of source code. Okay, so you tell me how long it would take someone to look through 2.1 million lines of source code. Let's say you had a book that was 2.1 million lines long in a book. How long is that going to take someone to read that book if it's in plain English? Then take that plain English and make it computer source code, which takes a lot longer to read those lines. And you tell me how long you think it's going to take anyone to go through 2.1 million lines. I don't think you'll be able to find someone to go through all that in less than a year or two.
How long's a rootkit?
It's not being done.
How big is a rootkit?
Well, it could be a couple lines. It could be it could be less than a line.
Is there such a thing as self-deprecating code?
Of course. Yeah.
So what?
And so everyone knows it's code
what a rootkit is.
Basically changes itself.
Yeah.
So a rootkit is it's like a virus, but it's a much more advanced virus. And what it does is it embeds itself before the operating system even loads. So most viruses, traditional viruses, load within the operating system like other programs. A rootkit loads itself before that in a different area of the computer that normal programs that would scan for viruses cannot see. It cloaks itself and then loads everything else after it. And it sits in this hidden layer that you can't see. So viruses were out for decades, and then all of a sudden these really, really advanced came out, and that was called a rootkit. And there were no tools that could detect the rootkits because they can't be detected while the system's running. The only way to detect a rootkit is you have to turn the operating system off. You have to boot into a different environment to examine the contents of the hard drive to see what it is that's actually loading. And that's if the rootkit's on the hard drive. If the rootkit is embedded into the BIOS of the computer, then most bets are off at that point, because you have to use really specialized tools to examine rootkits that are integrated or born into the BIOS itself. So it's no one is going to be able to find these things. And if someone's really skilled, even the best of us are not going to be able to detect them.
Okay. So rootkits, possibility in how they could be used in an election.
Of course.
Yeah. Now this is where
but they wouldn't even need it. If no one's evaluating the software, if we're not evaluating the source code of the software, heck, they could just put it right in the source code. The other place that a lot of people don't realize they could easily put it in, which is, if I was a bad guy, it's where I would put it in, is in the stored procedures in the databases. Because these election systems, for instance, Dominions relies on a database. When they set up the election, that database holds all the information about the election, all the choices on all the ballots. And it's not part of the source code or not part of the software that's tested necessarily at all when it goes through the testing labs. However, there's a very interesting thing about these databases. They have what's called stored procedure functionality, which means it's an area in the database where you can embed additional programming, custom programs that aren't part of the testing of the system and never would be, because they can create them after the fact, after everything's been tested, after the system even goes through the county logic and accuracy tests. Anyone that touches that system that, for instance, programs the election or does something else to it can get in and modify the stored procedures. It's like a special hidden program that gets injected after the fact. And that hidden program that's right in the database that no one ever looks at can do anything it wants to any of the votes or any of the components within the election. And it can then change itself and delete itself, and there's no trace of it. So that's where I would do it. I do it right in the stored procedures. That way, no one would be looking at it. When all these poor little counties contact Dominion to program their elections because it's too complicated for them to do themselves, and Dominion only charges about $2,500 to do it. Well, Dominion could actually program that election database that they then send the county to put inside their system. They could embed all that right in there, and the county wouldn't have the slightest clue.
Okay. So I think it's important for people to understand that we came to the conclusion based on using cast vote records that mathematically it aligns with Eric Coomer's doctorate thesis, right? Perfectly.
If you're getting in R squared that high, then it looks like the same type of manipulation that you would get using that concept that Eric wrote his thesis on. It's very interesting that it correlates that closely to the type of manipulation we're seeing in the cast vote records. I would say it's probably not a coincidence.
All right. But that's a correlation.
Mm-hmm.
Correlation doesn't mean causation.
That's true.
So then you have to run it across multiple states, and then you have to run it across ones that are not stolen. Mm-hmm. So that'll show you that a normal election would look like this, and these don't look like that, right?
Right.
And these actually align with those codes, with the algos, and that only someone with advanced knowledge of algos would. So they chose this guy in 2005. They put him in as a chief architect. His job was to actually create a system that used those algorithms in order to write a program that allowed you to basically control the outcome. Then his job over years was to make sure that other election systems use that base source code, right? That base structure, which there was a connection between ES&S, a connection between Hard InterCivic, there's a connection between Smartmatic, and there's a connection between Clear Ballot. They're all connected.
If someone's figured out how to hide manipulation within electronic voting systems, it's reasonable to expect that a majority of the companies that are there that would be interested in being able to manipulate results would use those same concepts, because the whole goal is to be able to manipulate it in a way that people can't see it.
Okay. So that's 2 points of correlation, right? Determinative correlation. Okay. Then I had to take in the Mesa counter reports. And I had to say, does this align with it? So I have cast vote records. Now I have the Mesa reports. And I have the Antrim County reports. Oh,
speaking of the Mesa County reports, are you aware? Did you ever see the data about the 914 ballots that allegedly, based on the data, were scanned into the system for the November 2020 election in Mesa County in 32 seconds, I think? Did you ever see that?
Impossible. Yeah. It's a part of the time deal in the article.
32 seconds. Well, it's a little different than the report, but here it is right here. If anyone is curious, this is it right here. This is the 2020.
This is what they said was election. Caused by time drift.
Well, time drift would never cause this. What they've got, so everyone understands what they're looking at here.
Mm-hmm.
These tabulator ID number 10 is tabulator number 10. Batch IDs, these are the different batches of ballots. These are the load orders, so the order they were loaded in. This is all in order from 1 to 10. And these are the creation time of these batches. Each of these batches has about 100 ballots in it. A couple of them are a little bit less than 100. Well, here you go. Ballots 100, 42, 100, 100, 100, 99, 100, 100. So it's odd this one only has 42, but check this out. This is the crazy thing. Look at the creation time of each of these ballots. These right here all happen in about 4 seconds.
What's the normal time it takes to actually scan a ballot?
Boy, it would take, these scanners can only do 100 pages per minute at their maximum speed. And these are doing 100 ballots in a matter of seconds. So there is no way that this could actually happen in real life. There's no way those scanners in Mesa County, Colorado could ever have scanned the pages fast enough to get all these batches in here. It's physically impossible for the
what's going to happen,
to have
Mark?
gone through
You're
the
going to help me finish my third report and part of my second.
Yeah.
Because I missed
And this is kind of the elephant in the room here. That tells me right there that that data was injected into the database directly. There's no way it could have physically come from a piece of paper. And the other very interesting thing, and this is Jeff O'Donnell put this together here. I'm going to pull this up here because you got to see this graph. This is crazy. Let's see here. It is this one right here. And I'm going to minimize that. Check this out. Okay, well, let's see. Let me move this window over. Sorry, I got it here.
Oh yeah.
Okay, check this out here. Okay, look at that right there. So these are the same batch IDs here. Look at this, 4001 through 4010 right there. And if you look right here, you can see this is 10/19/20 right here, right? Oh, let me fix that. 10/19/20. Those 10 batches right here, check this out. Those 10 batches is right here. Notice they all showed up at exactly the same time in 32 seconds. There's 914 ballots. And look at the distribution. Just about exactly 50-50. Just about exactly 50-50 ratio, even though the ratio is far different later on in the election. In Mesa County, it's like, I think it's high 60% Republican. But these ballots that could have never showed up organically, actually scanned, showed up here with exactly a 50-50 ratio. So what that tells me is they're stuffing the denominator. They're feeding in, they're preloading ballots with a near 50-50. So that way, when they start the manipulation as they move on, then it doesn't make as big of a jump when they've already established 914 ballots to start. This is just impossible. I would love Dominion to explain exactly how that happened right there.
Yeah, but
that's one of the many questions I have for them.
They won't, and this is where you get into.
But I really want them to.
Yeah, I know that. I know you want them to. But if you look again, if you go through this, and the election logs that were lost, how they turned down the ability for them to record the election log, or excuse me, the machine logs, and that was
the
done
machine logs
every part. Yeah, I mean it's
in the database inside Dominion's database. They actually turned off transaction logging on the databases themselves. So they could have turned that on so any change in the database was tracked. But for some reason, I guess maybe they made a glitch while they were programming and they accidentally didn't enable that tracking. Oops. And then they accidentally left the firewall wide open to all IP addresses in the world. Oops. Oh, and they accidentally had a web server running right on their system. And oops, a bunch of reports that connected to the database that's on there that wasn't in any of the instruction manuals, and none of the election officials even know about.
Well, how about the recordings of the investigators from the AG's office that tried to strengthen debunking the Mesa County Report 1, 2, and 3 with, they're just lying, knowing that they weren't lying, and also knowing that the system did exactly what we just tested it against. So, I mean, look.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you go down and you look at the reports in not just Mesa County and you run those against the reports in Antrim County, and then you run them against the report, even the flawed report that came out, the initial report, not the one that was redone by the lawyer for the Senate, because it was rewritten. So Logan's information in Maricopa was never seen by the public. The only thing that saw by the public was the one that was rewritten by the lawyer for the GOP. Right, for the Senate, right?
I will say Doug Logan. I know him personally.
Yeah, whatever.
He's a good man.
Get out of here.
He
sent me. Listen,
and he's honest.
Yeah. He sent me the report before the report got published that said these elections are stolen.
Yep.
He then, one day after sending me that report, recanted it and said it wasn't a report that was it wasn't a report that was sanctioned, and completely threw somebody else under the bus when he was the one that provided it.
There's more to that story.
I was there.
But
I was there. I mean, I literally had the conversation, and that he was deathly afraid. He has 11 kids.
He's deathly afraid. Yes, absolutely.
He is. What you just said. And by the way, anyone that's deathly afraid should have never got that contract. But that contract was decided at Lynn Wood's house, and who was going to get it in November, late November.
Why do you think they chose Doug?
Because they knew he was a paper tiger.
Well, they knew that they're going to choose someone that has a bunch of kids, right? They always choose the people that they think they can best control.
Well, he's going to have to step out of the deal now and answer some questions.
Give him some time. Give him some time.
Well, he doesn't have time. He doesn't have time. Mark, come on now. I mean, you said this to me before, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take a walk, because I've been working on this for 5 months, and I had to make sure that I had Coomer dead to rights, and that there was no way that no one would hire him. He couldn't pass a background check to work at McDonald's, and all of a sudden he's working at the 17 states and the District of Columbia running elections as the chief architect. And he wrote.
Kamala worked at McDonald's, didn't she?
Maybe they met there.
Yeah.
Maybe they met there. My point is that they've tried to destroy my life. They have. And now I'm just pissed. Now I don't care. I got nothing to lose, and I'm coming out with everything that I got. And you should see the stuff I learned about their attorneys. That was fun. I mean,
it's all dirty.
It's all dirty.
It's all dirty. It's all incestuous. It's as disgusting as you could possibly imagine. The hardest part is going to be putting it together in a format that's digestible to the average person, because it's so gross and it's so big, it's so overwhelming. It's hard to grasp all of it. But the American people are going to have to start paying attention and realize that it's going to come out. And what you're doing to bring it out, what I'm doing to bring it out, what everyone is doing that's brave enough to stand up, that just has nothing to lose and doesn't give a crap at this point, we're going to have to bring it out. And we may have to bring it out for those that are still too scared and that are too worried about their families. We may have to shoulder a little bit more for it, and hopefully that they will gain some courage. And if we can get the right protection for those around them, I hope we'll have plenty of more whistleblowers coming out.
Yeah, I think that's where it really comes down to, is that we have some other whistleblowers that are getting ready to come forward, right? And both in the U.S. and there's some really big things that are happening, but where it all starts is that we got to put it in place and write reports that are indisputable, that you can say this is absolutely. Oh, what is that?
Was it Mugica shows Obama voting on a Smartmatic machine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was, by the way,
there's a lot more coming out with Obama.
He was indicted for what happened in the Philippines for putting bribes out there.
There's so much that the citizens of this whole world are going to learn soon.
Yeah, so that's why they hired Coomer. That's why they hired Coomer. They hired Coomer for one reason and one reason only, and that is he's actually smart. And he knew how to build the system, and he was at every crime scene for the last 16 years.
Yeah, and Coomer is not a stupid man at all.
Unfortunately, we're not stupid either. For him.
That is very true. Yeah, let's see here. One of Coomer's very, very intelligent comments.
Yeah.
These are my favorite here.
Yeah, is Eric Coomer saying we suck?
We suck, and we are so broken all over the place. And so when I go around telling people that Dominion sucks and Dominion is so broken all over the place, I love the fact that I'm actually agreeing with Eric Coomer of Dominion, Director of Product Safety and Security. But doesn't that give you a lot of confidence? All these counties that are spending all that money, all their citizens' tax dollars on these systems, when the Director of Product Strategy and Security says right there, we are so broken all over the place and we suck. Boy, that's a great ad. You guys should sign a 20-year contract, even better.
What's the title? This will blow your mind. What's the title to it? ICP modems do what?
ICP modems failing acceptance testing. Yeah, these are the modems, inside the ICPs. See, if the citizens probably don't realize this, but they've built all these computerized voting systems to really have centralized control over elections. And so, although Dominion screams for years, our systems aren't connected to the internet. They're not connected to the internet. They are all designed to be connected to other systems and to the internet. That's the whole design premise of them. In fact, back in the day, in the Sequoia days, the software used RAS, which is routing and remote access services. So they had banks of modems, and they would modem in, they'd modem the results, and then Sequoia would actually connect in to the county election systems from Sequoia headquarters to get in to make changes. I've even got an internal email from someone up at Sequoia that they had to make a change to one of the county systems, and they were trying to determine whether they should tell the clerk or not. I mean, and they easily had these connections. And I'll tell you, the RAS, the stuff is still built in. I still see when you examine the systems, I could show you internally, they have all this information. It's still programmed with those capabilities inside the Dominion voting systems, at least 5.1 and 5.13, probably 5.17, because these guys are such idiots. They're smart, but they're also idiots, and they're so sloppy, and they're so brazen that they think that no one's ever going to look at this. Yeah, but you should see the stuff I've got. Let me pull up another image. I think it'll be real fun for everyone here. Go ahead. Let me look this up.
Yeah. So Mark, you wrote an X response. I want to put this up if we can. At least put it up on the other side, so I can read it while he's going through this stuff.
Yeah, you can take me off full screen. That's fine. It'll take me a second to find this anyway.
Are you guys hearing me in the control room? Are you guys hearing me in the control room?
Uh-oh, control room went to go take a leak, probably.
No, there's multiple people. Control room. Help me, control room. Okay, so can you do me a favor and put up Mark's X response to my post? So Mark came out like fire, pissed. And you also picked the wrong effing fight with me. I'm going to join Joe and come at you like a wrecking ball. You lying psychopath, God-hating criminal demons. Can you go ahead and mute yourself? And hurt hundreds of millions of souls. I'll slave away my entire life working nonstop so I could devote my later years to helping others. You took that from me. You stole that time I will never get back, and you destroyed the resources I was going to use to help others. I will now destroy all of you in the most excruciating, nonviolent way you could ever imagine. So that's Mark, by the way. And Mark, you are an expert. Oh, there's more. And I will work with everything I've got to return elections to the people so we and every future generation will actually live with freedom and liberty. I pledge allegiance to our republic, and I will do all that it takes to protect it. You mess with the wrong effing American, and it won't be just myself and Joe. You have woken the sleeping beast and far more of us. And as the beast of real, true, God-given freedom in millions of Americans stretches after a slumber and takes its first deep breath, you will feel what's coming your way. My fellow Americans, it's time. Start leaning in to hand count your ballots now, because we will be doing so now that we are taking our elections back. That's handcountroadshow.org/a-count-able. Whew. It's a lot.
It's a lot, but that's what has to happen here, man. The citizens of the United States of America have to actually be free again. And it's so easy for them to become free again. And when we take back control of our elections, we run them ourselves. We count our own dots. We get our own results at the precinct on election day in person. We count where cast immediately when the polls close. No more funny business. When we remove the control mechanisms that have been plaguing our elections for decades, we will suddenly have a country that actually reflects the will of the people. That's what will give this country back to its people. That's it. It's as simple as that. It all comes down to that. And then we'll take care of all these a-holes after the fact. But right now in this upcoming election, this is critical stuff.
Yeah, if we don't get rid of machines and mail-in ballots now, I'm under pretty good.
We got to do it right now.
I'm under pretty good information that there's going to be a lot of things moving in the last next 30 days or so.
So I mentioned the web server. This is one of the other things. There's so many things in this image. I spent a lot of time examining these images. Just so everyone knows, I was one of the lead forensic examiners on the Tina Peters case. I've spent a lot of time staring at these images, and I started making a list of all the concerns I had in it. But I'll tell you what, the list got so big, I was making a list of everything I saw that was wrong, every oversight in security or common best practices. And it got so long, I realized it probably would have been faster if I had just made a list of what they did right, because I have thousands of screenshots of issues. But I want to show some people some of this, because I bet no one's ever seen this before. This is from the web server built into the EMS server. This is an internet web server built into Dominion's web server, or Dominion's voting system server. This is where the database lives. These are the reports that they've got in there that the clerks, election officials, have no clue there's a web server running on this thing. And they have no clue that there are reports in this web server, and they're running on unencrypted port 80. So that's the HTTP, not the HTTPS. Super safe and secure for
Mark,
our nation's voting systems.
Mark,
yeah,
are you an expert in this?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, just a little bit. So look at some of these reports here. These are some of the hidden reports that are in these systems that our election officials have no clue about. But I want to just cycle through. I want to pull some interesting reports up that I saw that were kind of shocking. So I'll just go through some of them here. And I don't know why Dominion would have these types of reports available to them when no one else even knew they were there. There's one, let's see, hide portion. I don't know why they're hiding things in the reports. They've got, let's see here, report title, RCV method. So lots of ranked choice voting capability built in there. They've even got some information. Let's see here, hide unresolved write-ins. Count unresolved write-ins as undervotes. It's got a percentage field to choose percentages in the report. Place where you can choose the database that you want to get into. Let's see, hide unresolved. There's some modem stuff in here too, which is really interesting. There's device settings, show voting location, number of precincts, programming groups. These hidden reports are real interesting there. Let's see here, tabulators, number of tabulators, latitude, longitude. Why are they keeping track of latitude and longitude and building accessibility in the database for the voting system? Not to mention toilets. If they have toilets in the voting location, that's an odd thing. Wonder why they have that. Let's see here. We got, is that the last part of it? That may be the last here. And there are some that talk about modems and internet connectivity, tabulators, number tabulators, show blanks, show written overrides, number tabulators. Look at all that. Very interesting low-level stuff that they're able to pull these reports directly from the voting system. I'd like to know why. I'd like to know why they have all this information about.
Well, I don't think that gives us any. There's anything nefarious they can do with pulling those reports. I guess I could technically, but
absolutely, absolutely,
you could pull information.
Pull a lot of information, and if they can pull information from the database, they can make changes to the database as well.
By making sure they can take care of the log files. Then get in and make changes, and you never know. Which is what Chris York talked about long before we had any sort of an analysis or reports from there. Well, Mark, I got another report that'll drop on Friday.
Okay.
That'll be report number 2. And then I'm going to report probably Wednesday or Thursday. I may drop just the math behind all this. I'm going to work with Ed Solomon. I'm going to call him later on tonight. But basically just put a pin in it so that people can know that, hey, you can do this yourself. You want to run these reports yourself? You can use any of the platforms, any of them. Now, I will tell you that all of the AI platforms that weren't our own said that it was unauthorized to do the comparison until you made it scientific. Like, do the comparison scientifically, because it'll tell you unauthorized access.
Yet the AI
'Cause they
systems
know.
have been programmed not to allow the citizens to use that technology in order to determine if elections are rigged.
Yeah.
And so they've actually got protections built into them to keep us away from that. So you got to play some tricks with them so they don't think they're looking at election results to be able to ask them those questions. And that alone is disgusting.
So you see that Blitzacorp at the very top, the 2000 Blitzacorp?
Let's see here, right here, that guy right there. Yeah.
No, it's keep going.
This
up.
one?
Keep going up. Yeah. So that's the incorporation. No. I'm sorry, go down. So that Blitzacorp, they keep going one more down. Incorporated Delaware. There, right down, straight down a little bit. There you go. Acquires Blitz Corporation of Delaware. Okay, let me just tell you about this. So Blitz Bizta gave money to Sequoia, $200,000 note, owned 28% of it. Said it was a loan, but never paid it back. Like, there's so much in here that when you start to go through it, if you were the DOJ and you're like, oh, this doesn't make any sense to me, you put it into just basic information. Here's who did it. Here's the information. Now go fill in the gaps. It should be really easy. Like, they should have an indictment already. The fact that people haven't been indicted means that somebody is in on it. Because I shouldn't be here 5 years later talking about the same thing. I shouldn't. All these people should be in handcuffs, and we should be hand counting everything, and we would have a totally different government. Totally.
We don't have a choice. We have to do that right now, because we would have a different government. We'd have a bunch of different laws. All the people that are in government right now, I'll bet most of them shouldn't even be there. I bet 100%. For the past at least 2 decades, we have had people show up, not just federal, local too, local, state, all of the above. There's so many different ways to manipulate this system. We are probably being represented by people that we never elected. And so when a citizen sits there and goes, how on earth could this be happening? How could this person be in that position? I can't believe people voted for them. Well, they likely didn't. We likely didn't vote for them. And then all these unjust laws that we're living by. Good people live by laws. Bad people don't. Rules for thee, not for me. All these laws we're living by. How many of those laws were created by these manipulated elections? How many of these laws were actually not laws that the citizens agreed to live by? I think we're living a 90% fraud, at least a 90% fraud in everything.
Then you start talking about what happened in the elections. Then, I mean, let's be honest. If we're having a conversation about that, the next thing you have to do is say, okay, all this makes perfect sense. Now they know, even the people that are there that we didn't elect, they still have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
But they're doubling down on it.
And a lot of people are wondering, well, how did certain people win? Like, for instance, how did Trump win? If the elections are all manipulated, how did Trump win? What they're doing is they're not just running totally fully synthetic elections across the board. They still have to make it believable. And if the people don't believe it, if the people realize that the magic trick is just a magic trick, then they're going to throw the whole system out. So what they need to do, these psychopaths, they have got to keep the system of illusion in place, because as long as the people believe that it works, then the people won't get rid of it. So their goal is keep it in place, make it as believable as possible while still being able to manipulate it. If they just manipulated it 100%, it would become less believable to the citizens, and then the game would be over. And that's what happened when Trump showed up. And that's why they can't stand the guy, even though I love the guy. He showed up and threw a massive wrench into their plans, not because of who he is, but it actually happened because so many people went that way. So many people, we had an election that was so imbalanced that they couldn't sway the idea, the illusion enough to make it believable. And in 24, of course, they could have just stopped counting in the middle of the night and stolen it, stuffed all the ballots in like they did 2020. But they couldn't do that and get away with it without people realizing it's all BS. So that was a strategic move on their part. They bet, okay, well, let's let Trump win right away. We'll steal all the down ballots and we'll try to neuter him for 4 years. So this is
what's going to happen going into 2026.
Absolutely.
It's going to swing
fight a
way.
lifetime right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's absolutely going to, and they're prepping to do it right now. And all these things that we're seeing are distractions because they wanted the entire election integrity reform movement neutered. They wanted our nuts cut off with the Trump win, and half the people did disappear when Trump won. They just started high-fiving and they disappeared from the movement.
More than half.
Yeah,
and more people exactly moved on to the other grift. More of Con Inc. turned into just a bunch of grifters, right? So
yep. Yeah. And so that what we have to do is that those of us that are left that actually understand what the heck's going on here, we know that our entire country is hanging on by a thread right now. The freedom of every future generation of this country, the United States of America experiment in self-governance is about to crash and burn if the citizens do not reclaim control of their elections in this upcoming election. That's why we absolutely have, and people need to just realize it, suck it up. We have our elections. The ecosystem is totally irredeemably compromised. There is no fixing it. We have an elections national state of emergency, period. It is that critical. And that's why we need to have immediate actions taken to address the elections national state of emergency that we have right now. And I hope the right people realize that, because we're not going to get another opportunity here. Extreme measures must be taken to put the elections in the hands of the people.
I think we're headed there, but we have a lot of judges and a lot of bad people that we have to fight through. So, all right, Mark, we've been at this for almost 2 hours now. So I'm gonna let you go. Let you kind of get to your thing. I'm way past it. For those of you that are listening, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and more. Be the ones that's the ambassador of truth. And Mark, I'll catch up with you later on this afternoon. Thank you. It's exhausting. I got to tell you, it's exhausting. Like doing this and saying this, it's like saying over and over again that they're raping us, right? That the British are coming, the British are coming, the British are coming. I'm doing it for 5 years. I was sitting here thinking about it and I'm going, man, I'm tired. And what they did to me is different than what they did to everybody else. See, they sued everyone around me. I would go talk to Mike. They sued Mike for defamation. He sued Mike for defamation. I'd go to Clay Clark event, sue him, and make it so I can't get on the stage. Anything to keep me quiet. All the social platforms, Rumble included, right? What did they do? They came in and like, we're going to take you off the map. We're going to make it so people can't see you. We're going to make it so that we completely neuter you. And there are certain people that are like fixers that walk around and say, hey, take him down. Take him down. Don't let him have his voice. Make it very difficult. And they did. They've spent even more time over the last 6 months doing that. And then they had judges like Wang that says, in limine, and says, you're not allowed to talk about anything having to do with anything Eric Coomer. No one's allowed to know about him. And then you start looking at the other things that they did and you're going, this can't be real. I got a $90,761 deal for Eric Coomer, $91,000. And a case that I'm not even a party to, for attorney's fees for using the system to appeal. And a case, by the way, where his lawyers are on contingency. So they just made up a rate and said, we're going to give the judge or give him 90 grand. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And then I get attacked. So my report's coming out, man, I'm just going to start slaughtering people. Slaughtering them. Eric Coomer is not going to, I've got a whole mess of websites that I'm putting up there. I am literally going to walk door to door with pieces of paper about Eric Coomer in my reports, and I'm going to walk every neighborhood, and I'm going to put it on every single person's door. And then I'm going to tell other people, hey, here's the paper. Go ahead and make a copy of it and pass it out everywhere. Why? Because if technology is captured, and it is, I mean, I got guys that I used to talk to all the time. And it's not just the left. They've slandered me so much that the people out there are like, oh, Joe's crazy. Joe talked about wanting to kill people. I did not. I said they should be hung by their neck until dead. I didn't talk about killing them. I talked about justice and the fact that you committed treason. You should lose your life for what you've done to the American people. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but that's the consequence for treason. Sedition. But the left uses it, do whatever they want. But they've attacked me differently than they've attacked anyone else. You name one person that they've done what they've done to me. They sued, Sequoia and all those guys sued Mike Lindell, right? Not Sequoia, excuse me. Smartmatic and Dominion. Did Dominion sue me? No. And if they sue me now, okay, I'll just represent myself. At what point does it get to the ridiculous where you have Staple Street Capital? You have all these companies that they basically can silence any one of us that they want. And I wrote a report. It got shared 250 times in the first 20 minutes. Reached 30,000 people. Then 40,000. And then they basically shut it down. I had guys that shared it that had millions of followers. No one's allowed to see it. And you say, well, it's the algorithm for X. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's someone putting their finger on the dial and saying, don't let this be seen. And every time we turn around, that's what we get. It's not a conspiracy or a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy against the truth. I'm not going to stop talking about it. And I'm not going to stop fighting. Yeah, it's good to be back. All right. Well, I'm going to pray us out. You had me for too long tonight. I'm going to put out some other reports and other stuff, so stay tuned for that. And you are the ambassadors of truth. You're the only ones that can share, right? And that's why we're on every platform. I got more platforms that we're getting ready too. I had a platform called Q Broadcasting and all these different. And I'm like, look, I'll just put it out there. No problem. Because they literally want to steal everything that I'm saying and say, we're gonna cover it up. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm that big of a threat. Oh, Susan Rice, good Susan Rice, good to see you as well. Thank you for coming out, guys. Jeff, Chris, Gammy, Paul. All right, let's go. Father God, thank you for having us, and thank you for first guest. A little bit challenging, he has a difference of opinion. Got a little agitated when I started to question him, so I let up on him, Father. But that was grace, I think, more than anything. But Father, I just ask that you not only give me, but give Jeff the ability to be movable in our beliefs and to validate the things that you believe and to bring it to you when there's question. Father, help us that we may be patient, but also be strong. That we may stand up for what's right and not necessarily what's popular. And to seek you and seek the restoration of you to our communities, to our country, and to the world. Father, I ask you to help us in this adventure of getting to the bottom of all of this fraud that we deal with, the stealing of our voice and the ultimate enslavement of the people, of your people. We're grateful, Father, for the things that you have given us. And we lay that down in front of you and say, Father, what is it that you would like us to do? Help us, Father, we may always listen and follow the path that you want us on, not necessarily the one we want us on. I say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. All right. I'll see you guys later. Same time, same station. Tomorrow at 2:00. I won't go as long. Sorry. I am going to do some stuff on locals. We're trying to figure out some stuff. And so I'll get you guys on, let you ask some questions, do some behind the scenes stuff. We'll do some great stuff. So I want to call in and pray. I'll let you do that, Jeff. We may have you do that. It's going to be good. All right. God bless you all. See you soon.